In this part of the demo, we're going to show you how to prepare and import datasets for OpenTrace analysis. So what we actually mean by datasets is really just a collection of software artifacts and possibly a collection of traceability matrices. In particular, traceability artifacts are consumed by the linker pipeline to generate relationships between the artifacts, while the traceability matrices are consumed by the benchmark pipeline to evaluate the correctness of the relationships. So to get started, navigating to the installation directory of the plugin, you're going to find a mini dataset which is used to exercise many of the features of OpenTrace. You can also use this as a template to build your own datasets later on. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to be using a much larger dataset. It's called the CM1 TEFSE, and it's publicly available and it comes from a real-life project. In general, the standard way to work with these datasets is to organize all the documents we want to analyze into shallow directories. Each directory would correspond to a different artifact type. Here we have design documents in a design directory, as well as requirements documents in a requirements directory. Other types of artifacts, you would do the same sort of pattern. Any sort of reference matrix you might have, you would put in the root directory of the dataset. The naming convention you use for files and directories doesn't really matter as long as the dataset has this structure. Once the dataset has this structure, we are ready for import. There, you're going to find a gate corpus. If we right click on it, we want to populate the corpus. A dialog is going to come up asking where do we want to get the data from. We want to get it from here. Ensure it's in recursive mode, and you can specify any sort of extension you might like. Hitting OK, you're going to get the documents loaded into gates. And in particular, this dataset contains about 22 requirements documents. Pick any one at random. They look something like this, just a sentence saying the system shall do something. And it contains about 53 design documents. Here's one, for example. It's more elaborate. It might contain symbols or code references. As well as the dataset contains a traceability matrix in this form, which essentially just says a mapping between source artifacts to destination artifacts. So, in general, OpenTrace supports other types of artifacts that are not used by this dataset. In particular, it supports Java source code, console printouts, or web pages. Essentially, anything that's text-based, OpenTrace would support. Once you have all your documents loaded into the corpus, you are ready for tracing.